Monday. Today we're going to talk about accountability. So fun. This is probably one of the touchiest subjects, one of the touchier subjects anyway. Because even me, you guys, even I don't always want to be held accountable. Nope, that's not what I'm doing right now. Jiminy Christmas. There we go. Can everybody hear me? Give me a thumbs up. Can you hear me? Yep. Okay. Okay. Here we go. All right. If you have your hand out, have that handy. Today we're going to talk about how accountability changes everything because it does. When I first started, I got myself a coach. That was the very first thing that I did because I was going to hit classes and just trying to like figure it out on my own. And when you fill out the like My Fitness Pal, you put in like your weight and your height and the things and you're like, okay, and it gives you 1,200 calories and well, yeah, you start to lose a little bit of weight, but the problem with that is number one, it's not sustainable. Not a single one person in here, unless you're 100 pounds, 16-year-old girl, can be sustained on 1,200 calories. And
Me
so,
that butter, that cinnamon.
and so with that, we have to make sure that we find something that works for where we're at that point in time in our life. And so, this is why growth requires coaching. Okay. So most people don't fail because they don't care. Most people fail because they try to carry the responsibility of everything without support. And that's really where, see, we live in a culture that ends up glorifying doing everything on your own. Doing everything on your own, especially as women, like, oh, I'm a strong, independent woman. I got this. I can do it on my own. And that is the culture that we live in. But isolation has never produced transformation, only burnout. So tonight isn't about shaming anybody for where they are or where they're at. It's about understanding why accountability is the missing link for so many people who truly want change, who truly desire to change, but can't get over that threshold. So, first section is myth one, I'll get serious later. One of the most dangerous lies that we tell ourselves is I'll lock in when life slows down. Because life doesn't ever really slow down. I was just on a call with a friend of mine, and her and I were talking, and it's one of those things. She's like, I'm in another transitional season. And I was like, yeah, girl. But the thing is we go from transitional season into transitional season, and next month it's the next thing, and the following weeks it's the next thing. And it's always like that. Pressure doesn't ever go away. It doesn't ever go away. And motivation doesn't magically appear out of nowhere. In Ecclesiastes 7:8, it says this, better is the end of a thing than its beginning. And the patient in spirit is better than the proud in spirit. So starting is typically easy, but staying is where growth is proven. So I want you to think about this for a second. How many times have you started something strong, started motivated, started ready to go, and then all of a sudden it faded out? And it fades out when it gets uncomfortable. It fades out when we feel like we made a mistake or we stepped out of where we were supposed to be. We stepped off that path, and then we don't want to be held accountable, so we don't reach out. So then it fades out. And then we end up right back in the same place that we were. And this is why accountability feels uncomfortable, but also why it works. Because accountability exposes things that we'd rather hide, right? You guys most of you know that I had a little crash out last week with my own coach. I was on my thing and I don't know what happened, but your girl, oh, I was on my period and I'm going to give you all the excuses in the world, right? And I did, and I have them. I have them too. And what did I do? I ate an entire half of a pizza. Entire half of a pizza. But what did I do the next day? I reached out to my coach. I told him what I did, where I was at, and I got the pep talk I needed. I got the setting straight. And should I have reached out prior to the crash out? Yeah, absolutely. 100%. That would have changed, that would have shifted things for me. Absolutely. But sometimes we get to that point and then you just have to be reminded. You have to be reminded. And so this is what accountability does. It exposes things that we'd rather keep hidden, right? It exposes inconsistency. It exposes our excuses. It exposes emotional eating. It exposes skipped workouts. It exposes lack of discipline. And because it exposes, it feels uncomfortable. John 3:20 says, "For everyone who does wicked things hates the light and does not come to the light, lest his works should be exposed." Now, I'm not saying that crashing out and having half a pizza is a wicked thing. I think it's a human thing. But we don't want those things to come to the light. But when they do come to the light and they are exposed in the light, then we can deal with them. Because you guys, exposure is not punishment. It's preparation. It's the accountability that we need in order to grow and improve. So when I mess up, I don't pretend like it didn't happen. I don't pretend like it didn't happen. I tell my coach and he sets me straight. That conversation that I had with him that day, it didn't break me. It realigned me. It realigned me. But what we want to do is we want to hide. Ghosting is a signal, not a solution. Okay, now hear me out, you guys. When people stop responding, stop checking in, or disappear altogether, it's rarely because they don't care. It's because shame told them that they failed. And they have felt like they've let someone down. Not only themselves, but me. The Lord calls to us and he says, "Where are you?" Just as the man and woman in the garden, they wanted to hide from the presence of the Lord, right? Because they felt exposed. But the Lord called to man and said, "Where are you?" God didn't ask where Adam was because he didn't know, you guys. He just like when y'all disappear on me, I get a little ghosting, and guess what happens? I already know what's happening. And the reason I reach out isn't because I don't know what's going on, but the connection matters. Hiding doesn't restore momentum. Communication does. Showing up when you know you didn't do your best is literally the changing ingredient in this walk. It is a game-changing ingredient because that's where real growth will happen. You guys, something clicked in me. I messed up. I had my little crash out. I reached out to my coach and he just like, because you guys know I'm doing a bodybuilding competition, so it's a lot. It's a lot and it's a lot different. And I could have stayed on the same path and been very happy in my body and everything, but I wanted to try the next level. And so it requires a next level of commitment, a next level of dedication, just a next level, right? And so when I communicated that and I reconnected, he realigned me with my goal. Now, not when you're crushing your goals. When you're crushing your goals, yes, it's a great momentum to be, but that's not where the real growth happens. The real growth happens when you're not crushing your goals, when you're not motivated and you decide that you want to stay accountable. When you show up and you say, "You know what? I'm not doing great. I didn't do that great this week. This is where I fell. This is where I failed. But I'm still here. That is where growth happens. That is where that change becomes a part of the lifestyle, a part of who you are. 2 Corinthians 12:9 says, My grace is sufficient for you. For my power is made perfect in weakness. Because you don't have to impress me. I do not need to be impressed. I have been exactly where you are. I've gone through exactly everything that you guys are going through in some sort of fashion. All of the things, all of the struggles. Accountability doesn't demand perfection. It demands honesty and presence. If you show up and you're honest, that is where we can work with that. We can work with that. And that's why coaching provides clarity when your emotions take over. You guys, when you're tired, when you're stressed, when you're overwhelmed, or when you're emotional, your judgment is not up to par, period. Your judgment is cloudy because stress, exhaustion, the overwhelm, and being an emotional mess. What happened? I crashed out, you guys. I should have reached out to my coach first before because I was emotional. So my judgment was cloudy. Jeremiah 17:9 says the heart is deceitful above all things. A coach sees patterns. A coach sees patterns and can explain a way out. Okay? A coach hears excuses that you've normalized and things that we can overcome together. But when you can't tell if you're being disciplined, sometimes you guys can't tell if you're being disciplined or just harsh on yourself. Coaching brings balance to that. Because sometimes y'all will beat yourself up over something that really doesn't need to be so. And we've all had that. We've all had those moments. But listen, here's the thing, you guys. Athletes, leaders, all of us, people who all your normal everyday person. If coaching was only for beginners, why do professionals still have coaches? You got to think about this for a second, you guys. Okay? I've had a coach since I started. I've had gone through a couple different stages where I've had different types of coaches because I was going after different things. But I would never have stayed on the path unless I had somebody with me. There's no way. There's no way. I needed to be held accountable to someone. And we think, oh, well, I can do it on my own and it's okay and maybe this and maybe that and all of these things. But the reality of it is there is nothing more powerful than when you bring two people together because where two or more are agreed, you can do anything. For the moment, all discipline seems painful, and it does. Sometimes discipline can feel rather painful, and it is. And it's difficult to go through these different seasons where you feel like you have to force yourself to get there, but later it yields the peaceful fruit of righteousness. That's Hebrews 12:11. So we are not, and I tell people this is not a weight loss program. This is a lifestyle program. You will see weight loss through lifestyle change. If you don't change your lifestyle, then you can't sustain the weight loss. That's just a fact. The higher level that you go, you guys, the higher the accountability. I started with a coach years ago, and I still have one today. Not because I'm weak, but because I'm committed, because I'm strong, because I know the value in it, because I know the value in accountability. When everything is optional, nothing stays consistent. For me, being held accountable to somebody else, and this has to do with your faith too. In your faith walk, being held accountable to somebody, game changer. Game changer. If it's an optional thing, it'll never stay consistent. The heart of a man plans his way, but the Lord establishes his steps. Proverbs 16:9. The heart of a man plans his way, but the Lord establishes his steps. Accountability eliminates the daily negotiation that you make with yourself. Because if everything's optional, nothing will be consistent. We do that all the time. We let our workouts be optional. We let our meal plan be optional. We let having a coach be optional. This is something I'm choosing right now, but it's optional. All of these things are optional, but accountability eliminates that daily negotiation with yourself. Think about it. If you know you're checking in on Thursday and you're like, I know what I'm supposed to be doing, and I know I'm held accountable to it, and I'm gonna make this not optional. My check-in is absolutely not optional. I'm making sure I get it done. Now I'm held accountable. And you stop that daily negotiation. You're like, no, I'm going. I have to. Yes, I get to. Well, I'll get to that point, but I get to. Gotta hit my meal plan. Because then you stop asking. You don't say, should I? Because you already decided. You already decided it was not going to be a negotiation. So what does accountability actually look like? It's going to spell this out very clearly, you guys. Because this is something some of us are pretty good at, others not so much. I'm not going to call anybody out, but communicating instead of disappearing. Communicating all of the bumps and hiccups and roadblocks and all of the things. This is a strength, not a weakness. Doing great all the time versus doing not so great, that part doesn't even really matter that much. But if you can communicate all of your weaknesses, all of the things that you have been coming up against, that's true power. And if we look at this in a spiritual aspect, when you begin to speak your testimony, all the things that you've been through and all the things that you're going through, it snatches the power right out of the hands of the enemy. It takes that away. Nobody can hold my past against me because I will tell you at any table all of the things that I've been through. It's the same. Speaking those things that you're going through and having a clear, concise way out, that is how we communicate. That's how we overcome. Okay, what else do we do? What does accountability look like? We check in. We check in. We check in. Okay? We check in. Even when your progress is slow, even when you feel like you didn't have a good week, you check in. Especially if you feel like you didn't have a good week. Especially. You ask for guidance instead of guessing. Because this is something that we'll tell ourselves. I know what I'm supposed to be doing, and I hear it all the time. I know what I'm supposed to do. I know what I'm supposed to be eating. I know that I'm supposed to be going to the gym. But you're still guessing. You're still guessing. And that's why you're here. Here's a kicker. Allow yourself to be corrected without becoming defensive and without internalizing it. There is never a personal attack against anybody here. Ever. Ever, ever, ever. Want me to tell you? I'm going to tell you guys what my coach said to me when I crashed out and had pizza. First off, he was very, very cool about it. He was like, listen, I get it. Gave me a little pep talk. And then at the very end, he said, I will tell you one thing. If you do this during our prep, I will pull you from the competition and you will not get on stage. Ouch. Ouch. I was like, okay, heard, understood. I understand the level of seriousness this is. I did not get defensive. I knew that I needed something like that. I knew I needed that kick in the ass to make sure I could go forward. I had to. Something had to shift in me. Can't get defensive. You can't be like, oh, I'm offended. How dare she point that out? I'm a mirror. I'm holding up a mirror, and that's exactly what he did for me. And lastly, you guys, you have to trust structure over your feelings. You've got to trust the process. You've got to trust the process. There's going to be ups, there's going to be downs, not only in your weight, but in your journey. Some days you'll feel great, some days you won't. You just have to trust the structure. Trust the structure and the process over how you feel. You are not going to wake up motivated every single day, period. That's why you have someone there. Most people, you guys, do not need more information. But because of what did I say before? You already know what to eat, right? You already know that you should be moving your body. You already know that consistency matters. But be doers of the word and not hearers only. That's James 1:22. Because you don't need more knowledge, you guys, you need follow through. So take a second, and I want you to think about a couple things. How much time have you lost starting and stopping? How much energy have you spent feeling guilty instead of growing? How many times have you convinced yourself that you'll restart on Monday or on January 1st or when the holidays are over or when you know what I'm saying? How many times? Think about that for a second. I did that for years. I did that for years. Isolation is expensive, you guys. Think about that. All of that time. Because listen to me, you only have one body. This should be your greatest investment, is your body. Your greatest investment should be in your body. 100%. You only get one. And this is the one that we look at and that we present ourselves with every single day. And all of that isolation, how much has it cost you? How much time? How much money? How much courage has it cost you? How much confidence has it cost you? Accountability is an investment. We get so wrapped up in and I'm gonna say this because I've said this before. Insecurity is pride. Because when you feel insecure about yourself, you are constantly thinking of one person, and who is that? You. So how do we release that and let that go? How do we do that? We follow the structure. We walk it out. We begin to learn that this is actually not all about us. We stop isolating. We come clean. We reach out to our coach. We follow the plan. We follow the plan. We stop thinking that we can do it all on our own. Not that we think that we can, but we do think that we can. We're like, oh, I know what I'm supposed to do. I got this. But then we don't reach out. Guys, I've been doing this for a very long time and I can't do this on my own. And I'm not here to convince myself that I can. I don't do it on my own on purpose. And my whole life is the gym, you guys. I'm working at the gym. I'm teaching you guys on here and I would never get so full of myself that I think that I could. Because I need accountability. We all do. That goes for everything that we do. We should be always held accountable to someone, to our friends, to our spouses, to our coaches, whatever it is. I'm going to pray over you guys. And I just really want you to take some time to ask the Lord to self-reflect and find out where in this journey have you been trying to do it alone? And find the humility to begin to ask for help, the courage to stay accountable, even when it's uncomfortable, especially when it's uncomfortable. Because growth doesn't happen when you're hiding, you guys. It only happens in commitment. Okay, I'm going to pray for you guys. First off, Father, thank you for bringing us all here tonight and bringing us all together. And thank you for reminding us that we were created for connection. I break the lie right now off every single woman in this meeting tonight that we must do everything alone. Strengthen us to show up honestly, Lord, to communicate when we struggle, and to stay committed even when it's hard. Teach us to understand the value of accountability as protection, not punishment. Help us to choose consistency over comfort and obedience over excuses. Father, I ask that you surround each and every one of these women with a wall of fire. You protect their mind, you guard their sleep, and I ask that you wash over them with your oil of gladness, Lord. In Jesus' mighty name. Amen. This